always really exceptional cases in looking at any creative person. Of course, just doing any creative work is really, really tough, but Carpenter has always been in a very strong class of his own. Of course, you can find it a little annoying. He always says, John Carpenter's this, John Carpenter's that. But They Live is so remarkable, not just in terms of its politics, but because of a lot of its technical achievement, right? The most obvious being the infamous fight scene that goes on forever. I mean, just watching it the first time, I was really stunned. Like, how long is this going to go on for? Or it's a very sly, satirical edge. I mean, this is meant to be taken very, very seriously because it's not pulling any punches. It's really an interesting thing that Reagan actually never really appears in this film at all. He's never really mentioned, nor is he ever explicitly alluded to, but there's really no doubt what he's talking about. He's talking about Reagan, he's talking about the Republican right, the extreme right, and he's not holding back. He just sees them as these kind of alien monsters who are really being destructive and have to be fought, very militantly. So in terms of its politics, I think people have sometimes miscategorized this. This is not a revolutionary film. It's not on the radical left, but I do think you can qualify it as a left liberal. It's not as outraged as I think perhaps he should be. So it's not a Noam Chomsky kind of documentary. It's a very searing indictment of this culture of greed, narcissism, and repression that Reagan led. But if you look at the record, it's not that abnormal from the Carter years. I mean, of course, Reagan was very extreme in many regards. There's a great book by Sarah Diamond that really details just how much the radical right was participating in repression, mass murder, fascism, death squads, and even outright genocide, and literally helping these people. So there's really no doubt who is evil and who is good. The evil is located in the rich elite and their ideological helpers, and the victims are the vast majority of both the poor and the working class. And John Nada is this kind of very brilliant mythological figure, because nada means zero in Spanish. And he really has no origin, or we don't really know his backstory. He just drifts in and out, and he's not looking to be a hero. I mean, he just really slowly comes to understand the conspiracy. And the glasses are a great metaphor that it really takes something external, right? I mean, everyone senses that something is wrong, right? Because it's just so obvious. And today, of course, it's just, you just look at the window, the way the military is more and more in control of civic functions, the way you're monitored all the time, the way messages and propaganda are just so beaten over your head, and it's like there's almost no line anymore. There used to be at least some subtlety, but now it's very thrown in your face how you need to support the war, support this, support that, and if you don't, you're immediately marginalized or targeted. And I would like to say there's a balance here, but again, if you do look at the record, there really isn't. There has been a sort of left-wing reaction, which Carpenter's film is sort of a part of, but it's still very, very small. I don't think people recognize just how brutal or deep it was. I mean, people were being assassinated and exiled, and sometimes for the most spurious reasons. I mean, people who were just traveling in and out of the country, if they declared themselves atheists, would be questioned. So the film, I think, has the right moral and outrageous tone in terms of just being right, using the allegory that the aliens are basically just going to destroy the Earth and basically biologically just wipe out humanity by just making it so unlivable. But Carter, you know, there's more going on. I don't think he's just indicting Reagan or the Republicans. There is a lot of blame to go around with the Democrats, Carter, and this sort of sub-level of support, because as we see, there are human helpers, right? The aliens can't do this by themselves. They do need a lot of help, and people have to look the other way, even when they suspect something is going wrong. And the rationalization is really remarkable in just how honest it is, saying, well, listen, it's all going to get destroyed anyway. I might as well get the most I can out of it. And, you know, we kind of all do this, don't we? We all conform to the system in some way. And again, this is, I think, what I like about They Live. It's so universal. It really is about any system that you're caught up in. When you participate in it, you are sort of agreeing to it. So why not get as much as you can out of that system? And, you know, he doesn't make it easy for us. I mean, there's no real hero here. I mean, yes, we have a heroic resistance, but those people get beaten down and just killed off very early on. I mean, it's a really hopeless situation where the people who effectively stop the conspiracy are really sacrificing a lot, and they don't want to do it. Right? I mean, Nada has his friend, but he has a family. He does not want to be a part of this. He has to be forced to see the truth, and Nada himself hesitates. He's like, do I really, really want to go down this path? But it's only when he just sees and just can see for himself just how vast the conspiracy is. He's sort of just in this very stuck situation. He has to do what he can. And I myself think I misinterpreted the film several times. I always thought the ending was very, very pessimistic and very dark, but now I think it's actually pretty optimistic, but it is a warning sign, because for most of the film, and a lot of people miss this, is that the aliens are only at the top. We only see the elite as aliens, but at the end of the movie, the aliens are in all different kinds of classes and races and even genders, right? There's really no dividing line between them and normal people. So I think it's pretty obvious what he's saying is that, you know, it's not just these right-wing extremists. It's not just these fundamentalist Christians or these outright neo-Nazis and fascists. And he locates, I think correctly, Reagan among them. It's not just these people who talk freedom and liberty, but really just want to basically destroy you for profit. It is really us. We have to look in the mirror and see how much we've sort of become like them. And if we want to have any real resistance to these kind of very anti-democratic and very authoritarian trends, we got to kind of look at ourselves in the mirror. But it is a kind of very laughable, jokey kind of ending. We're not supposed to be like, wow, it's hopeless. It's more like, well, it is, but we kind of always knew it is, right? That's why he has that great scene in the bar where people are just staring at the guy, and the guy is staring at the TV, and it's just this great commentary on itself, saying, yeah, you know, I'm in Hollywood, I am a capitalist, I'm doing the best I can, but, you know, it is what it is. So, it's not a radical left film, and it does have its several flaws, but as a horror mixture with science fiction, you know, you can dismiss it as, this is just a Twilight Zone going on for an hour and 40 minutes, but I definitely think Carpenter has really hit something. And it is mostly satire. It's not meant to be taken literal, right? You're not literally supposed to take guns or use violence, but it is very clearly meant to be a very sharp indictment, not just of the radical right in the US, but this much more broad, now global culture of selling out and conforming to the system. So a very powerful film by John Carpenter that really, I think, defined the 1980s. All right, this has been Partially Examined Kubrick on Carpenter's searing and unfortunately very relevant satire. If you like the content, please hit the like button and or subscribe. Please comment below. Thanks for listening.